Okay, we will just give it a minute. I see the number of participants is racing up. So we'll just let people check in and then we'll get started. Okay, it's 4:01 and we like to be timely here, so we'll go ahead and kick it off. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Food as Medicine with the Food Bank of Santa Barbara County. My name is Lacey Baldivias. I am a nutrition scientist with the Food Bank. I'm also our Chief Impact Officer. And we have an excellent presentation for you today. We're going to be talking about your immune system and how to boost the strength of your immune system through diet and lifestyle choices that you can make every day. So welcome back to those of you who have joined us before. Just a couple of quick introductions. Kayla Malari is our new staff registered dietitian nutritionist. We are so excited to have her. She's done a great job already and has contributed to the presentation you'll see today. Kayla will also be a major contributor to Food as Medicine going forward. So you'll see her face and hear a lot of her content in the months to come. And then today we are featuring Olivia Najjar. She is a registered dietitian and Master's of Public Health intern with the University of North Carolina. She has been developing this presentation for you over the last few weeks, and you will see very shortly just how passionate she is about this topic and functional nutrition in general. So, Olivia, we are so excited to have you. Before I kick it off, though, I just want to say, we really welcome questions and interaction through this program. And so if anything comes to mind for any of our participants during the talk, please feel free to pop it into the chat or into the Q&A feature, whichever you prefer. We won't interrupt the presentation to ask the questions, but we will read through them at the end. So I will be monitoring that. We will have time at the end to address all of your questions. So I will read them aloud to Olivia and she'll have a chance to respond. So, Olivia, as soon as you are ready, please feel free to kick us off.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So, as Lacey had mentioned, my name is Olivia Najjar. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist intern with the Food Bank of Santa Barbara. I'm also studying for my master's in public health. So I'm super excited to be doing this presentation. I'm very passionate about nutrition, obviously. So I just wanted to start off too by doing a general disclaimer. So the first one is that we're going to be talking about boosting your immune system through diet and lifestyle. And I just wanted to note that these things that I'm going to be talking about, these are going to be typical for someone with a healthy body. I don't really love that term, but that's what I'm going to call it for right now. So if you have any other kind of conditions or special circumstances, this is very general advice, and always talk to your doctor or your healthcare team before making any, real healthcare decisions. But let's go ahead and get started. So first, what we're going to talk about is what is the immune system. So the immune system is just that. It's a system, and it's very complex, and it requires a lot of balance and harmony within the body. And because of that, it's this huge network of cells and organs, and it works at defending you against invaders. And that's a very general term to put it, but we're going to keep it very general. And because it's so intricate, there's still so much that we don't know. And there's still a lot of ongoing studies, especially within this past couple of years. We're going to be able to really see the real connections between diet, lifestyle, exercise, age, and stress, and how it all affects your immune system. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some really simple diet and lifestyle things that you can do to help support that. So this is just an image showing the very general organs and cells of the immune system. And I wanted to start off with an analogy that when I found this image, it really inspired me. I want you to think of your immune system like this team of soldiers. And in order for your soldiers to be operating correctly, they need to have training and fuel for their tanks, and they need to work as a team. In order for them to be able to function properly and at their most optimal level, they need to be extremely healthy. And this needs to be all done so they can function cohesively as a team. And you're also born with like a natural immunity. So we're going to talk about some ways that you're going to be able to strengthen those soldiers for battle every day. And adequate nutrition is required for all those cells to function at its best. And when your immune system is fighting infection, it increases the demand for energy, and that comes from the form of nutrition. And good nutrition fuels those immune system soldiers for fighting those infections that no one ever wants. And that brings me to my next point is like, why should you care? And I know what you're all thinking. You're like, Olivia, soldiers are amazing, but why should I care? And long story short is that a good immune system protects your entire body and helps you function in daily life. And this includes things like going to work, playing with your kids, hanging out with friends. And a good immune system simply just prevents your life from being disrupted. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today, about how to further prevent those like disruptions in everyday life. So we're going to keep in mind the soldiers that we talked about earlier. And we're going to talk about how to gear up those soldiers for battle. And that includes things like diet, lifestyle, and supplementation. And as Lacey mentioned, we're also going to offer up some questions that you guys have. And I also wanted to note that very small changes in some of these things can have a huge impact in your immune health. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this very exciting roadmap. And this is a depiction of your immune system and how all these things, such as diet, lifestyle, how they all impact your immune system as a whole. So we're going to begin with discussing some general information, which is that shield in the middle. And at the top, we have this image of a garden, which represents your microbiota. And your microbiota, they live in your gut. And this is kind of like your command center. And that's going to be what's telling your soldiers that we talked about earlier where to go and what to do for battle. The image on the bottom left is a type of soldier called an antioxidant, which is a special type of soldier that will go to bat for your immune system. It's like your special forces, so very specialized in what they need to do. And it's fighting that little orange circle called a free radical. And the free radical is that little orange circle with legs, like I mentioned. And these are the antioxidants these are the things that the antioxidants are going to be fighting. And these all come from things that are depicted on that left-hand side or on the right-hand side, such as environmental factors and lifestyle factors like smoking, alcohol, stress, and like overexposure to sunlight. And these can all produce free radicals if gone unchecked and can really harm your cells in the long term. So to get started, we're going to just talk about some basic information on the immune system. So we talked about the parts of the body, and these parts of the body contribute to 3 types of immunity: your innate immunity, adaptive immunity, and passive immunity. And your innate immunity, it's what everyone is born with. So it's this type of general protection. So something like your skin or your eyelashes, things that act as barriers that block germs and other foreign invaders from entering your body. And your immune system recognizes when these certain invaders are very foreign and they could be dangerous. So it's really interesting to know that your body just kind of knows when things are going awry. And it does its best to try and fight those off through different methods. And your next type of immunity is called adaptive immunity. And adaptive or active immunity, it's what's developed when we're exposed to diseases. So like if you got the chickenpox, you would develop a type of adaptive immunity in order to not get the chickenpox again, or when you're immunized against them, so vaccines or anything like that. And then passive immunity, that's immunity that's borrowed from another source, and that lasts for a very short amount of time. So my favorite example, it's a mother, when the mother breastfeeds, the mother's breast milk has antibodies that is given to the baby, and the baby has temporary immunity to diseases the mother has been exposed to. So I mentioned before that your immune system is a compilation of many cells and organs that work together to protect your body. And this is a really great simple diagram of organs and the important cells in the immune system. And some organs include your lymph nodes, the gut, and your skin. And white blood cells in particular are created in your bone marrow. And that's that red circle that you can see with the arrow pointing at types of blood cells. And there's a few different types of white blood cells. And the 6 types are neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, monocytes, macrophages, and lymphocytes. And when you do your blood work, your doctors check these cells all the time. So if you're just curious to see where your counts are, you can always ask your doctor to run this panel for you. It's something that's always being monitored. And each one of these white blood cells, they all have a very specific function, like a lock and key. So everything is very specific to what they do for your body. So now that we've kind of talked about some general information on the immune system, we're going to move on to talking about the gut, its microbiota, and how this acts as a command center for your immune system. And that's at that top part of the slide. So I love talking about the gut. I love the bacteria. I love the gut. It's every single day we're learning so much about what it does, but we're just going to be talking specifically about what it does for your immune system. And the majority of your immune cells actually lie within the gut. So it's important to keep it healthy. And the gut, people usually think of it as just those large intestines that you can see, but it also includes any of those hollow organs. So anything that makes up your digestive tract, such as your mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and your anus. So when you think hollow, you think of your gut. But when you look at it in research and when you're seeing these microbiota and all these smaller organisms, they are usually talking about this large intestine part of it. And that's what we're going to hone in on today. And the majority of that command center, it does live in your large intestine. So I love this analogy of a garden because your gut houses these small microorganisms that make up your microbiota. And the gut and the immune system support one another in order to promote a healthy body for you. And the gut microbes kind of act as this like gatekeeper or trainer for these soldiers. And it gives your soldiers orders. And those orders are then distributed out to the entire body. So your gut microbes are telling those soldiers where to go, what to do, and what is an invader or not, and how to stop the invader. And your microbiota, it's a compilation of all this stuff. And what I like to think about it like a huge garden where you have lots of flowers and trees and greenery, and your garden loves foods that are rich in probiotics, prebiotics, and other micronutrients. And so that's why a varied diet is very key to be getting all of this, because as I'll discuss in a minute, when you have this really big, luscious garden, these small weeds are not such a big deal in the long term, but it's really important that we get things like prebiotics and probiotics and micronutrients to support the garden that's already existing inside of us. So probiotics are living microorganisms that when you consume them in certain amounts, they have a positive impact on your health by restoring your gut. And again, that large intestine piece of it. And it has been shown that after the consumption of certain probiotics, your non-specific immunity will improve, which is amazing. And these would be like your seeds that you can plant in the garden that would, help things like grow later. And you can find probiotics in a lot of things like yogurt, kefir, kombucha, pickles, tempeh, kimchi. So think like fermented equals probiotics. And prebiotics, these are things that act like compost. So compost, as Lacey had pointed out to me a while ago, which I thought was great, it's kind of like it's that special sauce, the special sauce that makes, your garden soil this like amazing thing, and it nourishes your garden soil to stimulate the growth of those probiotics. And prebiotics are found in many fruits and vegetables, especially those that contain complex carbohydrates such as fiber and resistant starch. And some examples are like legumes, beans, peas, oats, bananas, berries, asparagus, garlic, onion. These are also things that are foods that are great bang for your buck, which I'll describe a little bit more in a minute. But these also have loads of other vitamins and nutrients that are going to be very beneficial for your immune health. And then lastly, your micronutrients are kind of like your fertilizer. So it's that special, like it's these like little sprinkles, they're like rainbow sprinkles on top of your ice cream, where your micronutrients, they ramp up those microbiota to function and grow. And when you have a really big, luscious garden, like I mentioned, with all these different components, these things that are, smaller weeds, they don't seem like such a big deal. And your weeds come from things like the overconsumption of processed sugar, heavily processed carbohydrates, and processed meat. But when you have this really big, lush garden and most of your diet is consistent of all these things that are supporting it, these other things that might grow weeds aren't such a big deal and might not cause like a lot of long-term issues down the line. And so far, we've talked about info about the general immune system, the function of the gut and how it influences the immune system. And now we're going to talk about my favorite nutrients, which are antioxidants. And antioxidants, they improve your immune function, and they kind of exhibit this special protective role for your body. And they specifically protect you from things called free radicals. And like I said, they are these special forces that are great for targeting those free radicals, which are harmful for your cells. And free radicals, they come from things like sun exposure, cigarette smoke, and other environmental pollutants. Those are all things that you can see beyond the little orange guy on the right side. And they can do some damage if gone unchecked. Things like damaging your cells, your enzymes, your DNA, and the ability for your antioxidants to destroy free radicals. They can actually help to protect your cells and tissues from that damage. So cell damage means that you're less able to function later. So you want the antioxidants to fight for you, and you want to try and minimize those free radicals. Sometimes it's not always in our control, but if you can, it's not a bad thing if you can. And so, like I said, these are the antioxidants, and then those are your free radical guys. And I know this is a lot of information, and I wanted to really stop and think about, why do we care about free radicals? I mean, it's such a microscopic thing, but I wanted to reiterate that if your free radicals are totally unchecked and you have no antioxidants fighting for you, your cells can become damaged and then they don't work properly. And this is an image of a damaged cell by free radicals. And this image on the cells, it's called oxidative stress. So if you're like, Olivia, that's like super cute science stuff, but I actually don't care about this now, just get to the other stuff. It's important because even though you might be young and healthy, or you might appear healthy, long-term oxidative stress has actually been related to a lot of negative health outcomes. So things like cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, severe neurological diseases like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, ALS, multiple sclerosis, depression, and memory loss. So this is something I just wanted to spend a little more time on because I thought it was really important to mention. And luckily for us, these antioxidants, we can get a lot of them from the diet. And so those free radicals won't be totally unchecked because some of the best antioxidants can be found in the food. And we're going to walk through some of the different ones called like selenium, vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin D and vitamin E. And we're going to talk about why they're important and where you can find them. And then after all of that, we'll talk about some components of meals that you can build yourself, and you can get a lot of these things. And like I said, these are the different parts. You have like vitamin A and selenium, you have your vitamin C, and all these other ones as well. So starting with selenium, it's a trace element that's found in many foods, and it plays really critical roles in protecting from cell damage and infection. And your adequate levels of selenium are really important for initiating immune responses. And they're also involved in regulating excessive immune responses and chronic inflammation. And so there's a lot of really cool emerging evidence right now regarding the roles of selenium and regulating that inflammation immunity response. And this has really provided some good important insight into mechanisms by which selenium kind of influences all these processes. And it also helps cells to respond faster. And those could be to possible infectious invaders or to free radicals. And some of the major food sources of selenium in the American diet are actually from things like grains, meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. And I thought these charts were really great. And these are listing some of the major sources of selenium in the diet. And so some easy ways you can kind of incorporate all of them if you make a canned tuna salad for lunch, having Brazil nuts with like a tangerine as an afternoon snack, or like chopped in salads, making shrimp pasta for dinner using fresh or frozen shrimp and like a pasta of your choice. Those are, all really great ways to add in selenium to your diet. So the next one we're going to talk about is vitamin A. And vitamin A, it's important for any area of the body that has regular cell turnover. So things like your skin, your eyes, digestive tract. It's really great for growth and development of the immune system. And vitamin A maintains the health of all of these tissues, which is that non-specific immunity. And that actually just forms a barrier against infection. So research has actually shown that, critical immune organs that the body needs are consistent with really good vitamin A concentrations. So you have really good vitamin A concentrations, most likely you'll be getting great maintenance of those protective tissues. And like I said, these also include organs like your thymus and your bone marrow, and they regulate and synthesize in there. And your bone marrow, like I mentioned before, is where those white blood cells are developed, and they're actually key for fighting infections. So the best way to get vitamin A is actually through food. And food that's rich in vitamin A, beef liver, I know, but don't yuck someone's yum. Spinach, carrots, sweet potatoes, and ricotta cheese. So some easy ways to add vitamin A. You can add spinach to smoothies, roast sweet potatoes as sides for dinner, add boiled eggs to salads, or have them as high protein snacks. So really easy ways to add vitamin A into your diet. So vitamin C, I'm sure we've heard a lot about that, especially in the past couple of years. It's a really potent antioxidant that supports the function of innate and adaptive immune cells. And this includes protecting from free radicals and helping with gene regulation and aiding in like wound healing, which is really cool. So also vitamin C, it enhances the function of the immune cells that we discussed earlier. So it just makes them work better and more efficiently. And humans, unlike most animals, they're able to synthesize vitamin C within the body. So we're actually unable to synthesize vitamin C within the body. So it's actually an essential dietary component, which means that we have to get it from food. We can't make it ourselves. And vegetables and fruits, they actually provide the highest amounts of vitamin C. And vitamin C deficiency, it actually results in impaired immunity and higher susceptibility to infection, although it is rare in the United States to be vitamin C deficient. So some easy ways that you can add vitamin C. I love a stir fry. Add any kind of colored vegetable that you can find and throw it in there. So red bell peppers, broccoli, spinach, and any sauce you have on hand. Berries or fresh berries over yogurt or oatmeal. And when you think color, think of vitamin C, like red, orange, yellow, green. So a lot of those foods are what I like to call more bang for your buck foods. So for example, when you look at these charts, there's going to be a lot of common vegetables and fruits and like proteins and grains that you'll see, because they all kind of pack a punch. And if you're incorporating a lot of these common foods that you're seeing on these charts, you'll be able to get a lot from just one serving of something. And looking for these commonalities makes it a lot easier and attainable to get some of these vitamins into your diet. And I also want to reiterate, however you get that is fine. Fresh, frozen, canned, as long as you're getting it is perfectly acceptable. So now vitamin D is one of my favorite antioxidants. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit more because it's just so important. And actually a lot of Americans are typically low in vitamin D, and you can actually get that tested at your doctor. And vitamin D has a couple different ways that it gets into your body. So this image depicts how, vitamin D is absorbed from the sun through your skin, and then it's converted into vitamin D3, where it's used for many cellular functions. Vitamin D can also be absorbed from your food, and then it's converted in the kidney and liver. And then it's also absorbed later by the other organs and then used in your immune system. And it supports the immune system for some very important white blood cells, such as macrophages, dendritic cells, and T cells. And macrophages are like, I call them like your big muscle. Like they'd be like your, I'm not like super into sports, but like they'd be like your linebacker. So they'd be like your first go around. We sense an infection. We're going to come in and see if we can get rid of it. And dendritic cells, they're kind of like a special type of immune cell that's found on your tissues, such as the skin. And it's actually critical to have dendritic cells in the development of your adaptive immunity, like we talked about before. And then T cells are really important for cancer fighting. So these are all really important cells that do a lot of different things that are all supported by vitamin D. And vitamin D, beyond the immune system, has a plethora of functions, such as regulating mood and decreasing your chances of heart disease. And the many functions of vitamin D make it extremely important, not only for your immune system, but for your entire body. And like I said before, it's really important to get this tested by your doctor. And if you're deficient, you can get plenty of the vitamin D from food, 10-minute exposure from the sun, and if applicable, supplementation. So some ways you can get vitamin D. So fatty fish like salmon, sardines, canned tuna, egg yolks, vegetables like mushrooms and fortified foods. You can make tuna salad or salmon salad using canned fish, egg omelets with added mushrooms and other vegetables, making oatmeal with soy milk instead of water, and adding nuts and fruits. So again, these really big bang for your buck foods. So the next one we're going to talk about is vitamin E. And vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin that has several forms, but its main role is to act as an antioxidant that acts as like that cleanup crew, and it scavenges all these free radicals. So it's found in mainly plant-based nuts, oils, and seeds, and fruits and dark leafy green vegetables. Some easy ways to add vitamin E. So cooking with avocado oil or olive oil, cook down dark leafy greens and add them to pasta or fried rice. Make a snack of hummus with sliced bell peppers. All these are great ways to get different sources of vitamin E. And, like I mentioned before, all of these are also listed on charts and are really easy to incorporate into your diet, by just always trying to add in and making those meals that are more bang for your buck. So I wanted to show a couple examples of, I like don't have time to be doing all this like crazy things. I'm not a food blogger. That's not my thing. I like simple go-to quick things that will make a big impact. So these are just a couple examples of different meals that I found. I love a smoothie, but a smoothie alone does not do the job. So if you add in things like, a multigrain toast, that'll add like 26, milligrams of selenium. Not only that, but your almond milk and frozen berries, a banana, protein powder, handfuls of spinach, lots of vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D. All these other vitamins are packed into this one tiny compartment. And then I love a bowl. So a bowl where I can just throw whatever I have in my fridge, to be honest. So things like white rice, avocado, black beans, cherry tomatoes, corn, chicken breast, squeeze of lime. If you add in something like salmon, you can get a little bit more of a packed punch of vitamin D. But again, these are the types of meals that I'm talking about when we're talking about bang for your buck foods, things that will give you a really big impact, one, for little effort, because who has the time? And two, making them really colorful and like full of fiber. And some key takeaways I wanted to talk about. We went over all these vitamins and I know it can seem extremely overwhelming, and that's the reality. But the reality is that adding a lot of stuff will pack a big punch. Not every single day is going to look like the day before. And if you think about foods that are high fiber, those are going to be essentially good foods for your immune system. So I would really focus on adding things where you can, added vegetables as side dishes, added salads on the side, adding snacks with a lot of fiber and seeds and nuts, things that you make already. Does not have to be anything crazy if you don't want it to be. And these can be really like quick snacks, such as like almonds and like an orange in your bag or in your car. And like I said before, however you get those fruits and vegetables is perfectly acceptable. Fresh, frozen, canned, they all work to incorporate in your day. So I know that was a lot, but we're going to talk a little bit more now about the lifestyle stuff. And these are all things that when you try and manage them, they can minimize this kind of free radical damage, which is what we want. It's not always 100% avoidable, but we can do our best, right? And all these other adjustments will also help your immune system in the long run. So the first thing I want to talk about is stress. And the American Psychological Association actually says that managing stress, especially long-term or chronic stress, even if it's not intense, can actually help people to fight germs. So if you're burdened with a lot of long-term stressors, such as caring for an elderly parent or a spouse with dementia, your health can really benefit from stress management. And these can all be small things: taking deep breaths, talking to someone, calling a friend, laughing, journaling, doing an adult coloring book or puzzle, dancing while you clean. These will all be things that can help you feel happier and minimize stress. Think of things that like kids would do that would be fun for them. So another one that will help your immune system is minimizing alcohol and minimizing smoking. So alcohol, especially alcohol, it works in this way where it disrupts your immune system pathway. So think of like if your soldiers are on the road in their tank and then they're trying to go to the destination to fight this infection. And then all of a sudden there's a bunch of road construction. It can be really difficult to get to that destination. And alcohol does that. Alcohol will start to interrupt those pathways and impede your recovery from tissue damage, or if gone long term, can actually contribute to organ damage. So minimizing alcohol will be huge. And also with smoking. Smoking can really harm your immune system and make your body less successful at fighting disease. So keeping those in mind when you're trying to think of these lifestyle factors to help your immune system in the long run. So another one is getting enough sleep. Love sleeping. Could do a whole presentation on sleeping. And specifically, when you don't sleep enough, your studies actually show that people who don't get quality sleep or enough sleep are more likely to get sick after being exposed to like a virus. And this could be like something like the common cold. So lack of sleep can also affect how fast you recover if you do get sick. So sleep is extremely important. Aim for 7 to 8 hours a day. Find your good sweet spot. And that'll be really important for not only your recovery, but being able to function in daily life and do all these other things. And it also helps your immune system a lot when you sleep. So the next one I wanted to talk about is drinking enough water. And our immune system, it's really highly dependent on the nutrients in your bloodstream. And the bloodstream is made mostly of water. So if you don't have enough water, you can't properly transport all those nutrients into each organ system. So staying well hydrated is really important for things like detoxification pathways, increasing lymphatic draining, and making sure we're clearing out all of those foreign invaders and waste materials. The next one we're going to talk about is exercise. So getting moderate exercise throughout the week can actually improve your immune function. And this can be really minimal exercise. Talking 30-minute walks, yoga, or weightlifting. Find something fun that you can incorporate every day. Studies actually find that over-exercise can actually weaken your immune system. So don't worry about running 30 miles a day and using that as a basis to support your immune system. Do something fun, do something that'll get you moving. And a little bit every day is going to be better than these super long, intensive workouts that not everyone really has the time for. So another one, get some sun. So getting some sun, 10 minutes a day, can actually help to ramp up your vitamin D production. And this can be, if the weather permits, not sure where everyone lives, but, just a little bit of sun every day can really help boost your immunity and also your mood and so many other things. So we talked about diet and lifestyle. And I wanted to just touch briefly on supplements because I know this is a big topic. And throughout the ongoing pandemic, we have seen a lot of information on the use of supplements to combat illnesses. And this could be stuff like the common cold, the flu, etc. And I just wanted to note some general points about supplements. So supplements are not regulated by the FDA as close as they should be. they're actually viewed as a food item, not a medication. So there's no promise or guarantee in each amount of supplement that you take. For example, when you take a medication, the FDA regulates that medication so heavily that with every dose of that medication, you're getting exactly the amount that's written on that bottle. Supplements, it's not like that. There is no regulation saying that it's going to be that precise or that promise of milligrams per serving. And this can be dangerous, especially if you're taking other medications, because those vitamins can interfere with the medications. Or if you're overtaking the vitamins, it can lead to toxicity, inhibit the vitamins from actually working in your body. So it's really important that if you decide to take supplements, one, think about your food and lifestyle first, because supplements are not going to be a band-aid for everything. You need to do the other stuff first. And they're also not going to prevent the onset of certain diseases. And it's really important to talk to your doctor. Not to mention, supplements are really expensive. So things like minimizing alcohol, going for a walk, deep breathing for stress, these are all free things that you can do. And I would also think about that and focus on that stuff and getting it all from food first. And if you're, still like wanting to take a supplement, just make sure to talk to your doctor about it first. So, key takeaways. Working towards building your immune system and supporting those immune system soldiers that we talked about before, it should be something easy and tangible that you can incorporate into your everyday routine. So focus on adding where you can, adding like different varieties of vegetables and fruits into your diet. Think of your immune system as just that, a system. There's not going to be one way to fix it or one thing to make it stronger. These little things that we talked about today, if you're doing them in small amounts every day and you're doing them consistently, that's a win. And when you're seeing all this stuff online about things that you could do or should be doing, sometimes it can make us feel like we're not doing enough. But keeping it simple is going to be the key. And I put some easy tips on here too. Like I mentioned before, add fruits and vegetables where you can. Aim to fill like half your plate with like a vegetable during dinner, or like, a lot of fiber. Carry a water bottle that's really cute, that makes you feel good. Minimize technology at night to get better sleep, and then skip the glass of wine, maybe like once or twice a week as a nightcap. And these would be some really big takeaways that I'd want you to actually bring into your everyday life. And with that, are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Olivia. The first question is, why do you focus on adding foods into your diet when so much of what we hear in the media and mainstream culture is about limiting what we're eating?
I feel like I could go into like such a heavy answer into that, but essentially, I feel like there's a lot of fear surrounding a lot of food in general. And when you start focusing on adding stuff into your diet, it makes it less scary and it's a lot easier. I think that when you're seeing it from the media perspective, there is this fear invoking thing. And sometimes it's not exactly fear that invokes the right agenda. But for me, going into this profession, my goal for future clients, for future people, for people listening, would be to keep everything tangible and as much as possible without kind of dietary restrictions or things like that. But usually always when there's a restriction game, it's usually some bigger agenda behind it. But if you focus on things like adding, makes it a lot less scary and a lot easier. And you're talking about real life here, real people like who they just want to add stuff, just add the stuff and make it like worth it, bang for your buck food.
Okay, another question for you. Can you still get vitamin D from the sun if you wear sunscreen?
Yes, but I'm not a dermatologist. So in terms of like sunscreen function and how long it lasts and all that stuff, but you can get vitamin D just from 10 minutes a day in the sun. in terms of like that interaction and how much through the sunscreen you can get, I am not 100% sure.
Okay, and when you were talking about the supplements, I know you said there wasn't quite tight regulation on the amounts of supplement that you would actually be receiving. Is there any kind of risk of toxicity or anything that people should be concerned about when taking supplements?
Yes. I would say that that can actually, people who just go to a health food store and like buy a bunch of supplements are at high risk of toxicity, especially because those amounts, one, are not regulated, and toxicity comes with a lot of problems. A very common one, you can actually get like vitamin D toxicity. Those fat soluble vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin E, those ones can just sit in your body. So if they're just sitting there, it's usually not contributing to anything. Where something like vitamin C, that's a water soluble vitamin. So water soluble vitamins will just kind of, your body's just going to use what it needs, and then you're going to urinate out the rest. So there is a risk for toxicity with any supplement that you can take.
Thank you. A couple more questions for you. You mentioned probiotics for immunity. What foods do you recommend to get good probiotics?
Oh my gosh, so many. I love like fermented things, pickly, briny, sauerkraut, pickles, yogurt, preferably yogurt with like less added sugar. But you can get probiotic enriched yogurt also. So think like fermented probiotics.
Okay, and another question. Are you familiar, are there any effects of caffeine with regards to immunity?
I personally have not come across any specific studies relating caffeine to immunity, but from personal experience, coffee makes me happy, and happiness gives me a good mood. Good mood equals less stress, and that equals a better day. But in terms of caffeine related to immunity, I'm not 100% sure, and I've never come across studies like saying that for sure. But I would say too much of anything is never a good thing either. So if you're having like an IV of coffee every day, that's probably not going to be super amazing for your immune system, because you're probably going to be lacking a bunch of other stuff.
Great. Well, I think that is all for the questions. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Big thank you to Olivia, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you so much, everyone.